Many of you want to know what it feels like to go through a spiritual awakening. Let's get into it. I'm going to tell y'all about some of my experiences when I went through my spiritual awakening. I came strictly out of the church's scenario about the Bible and God and Christ and the laws and all of that. And I was even a minister. I was a minister for 5 years. And I remember I had left the church at this time, and I was feeling like I was missing something, but I didn't know what it was. When I was going through my spiritual awakening, especially in the beginning, I felt totally lost. I felt like I couldn't even find my way home. That's how lost I felt. A lot of times I felt spaced out. A lot of times I felt cloudy. It's like I could not get my thoughts together for anything. It was as if a rain cloud was just following me everywhere I went. And it was just so quiet. Now, for many of us that come out of environments where we're used to a lot of noise, we're used to people talking, we're used to running around, we're used to being in other people's energy. When I started my spiritual awakening journey, it was as if I had been put in a room alone by myself with nobody. Now, of course, I had people around me. I still went to work. I still had my family, but I felt like I was alone. I couldn't even go backwards. That's how I felt. It was like I couldn't even turn around to the familiar, back to what I knew. It's like I was blocked from going backwards. I had no choice but to move forward, but it was as if I wasn't moving forward. It's like I was standing still, standing completely still. It was as if the wind wasn't even blowing. That was how I felt when I started my spiritual awakening journey. Now, had just come out of the church. I had actually been out of the church before I started my spiritual awakening journey it had actually been 5 years, y'all. It had been 5 years since I had left the church. And I remember running into someone who said, "Why are you in the cave looking out at the sky?" Okay, this person did not know me, but I understood that there was a sign from God, from the Most High, from the divine, telling me that it's time for me to move forward. So what I learned is when you're undergoing your spiritual awakening journey, when it first starts, you're going to get some kind of sign that it's time. You may not even know what it's time for. Like me, I had never heard about spiritual awakening. I had never heard about any of that. The only thing that I knew was church and church. Okay, and I knew that it was like the church thing didn't make sense to me anymore. It just didn't make sense to me anymore. It was like that chapter of the book had been closed, and now I'm entering a whole new chapter of my life. That's what it was like. You know, that's why I said I couldn't go backwards. I couldn't do nothing but move forward, but it's as if I couldn't move forward. It's like I was just in this space where nothing was moving at all. And while I'm in this space where I felt like nothing was moving at all, I started finding crystals and stones and feathers. And it was it was actually, it caught my attention. See, when you go through your spiritual awakening, you're going to have experiences that will catch your attention. You can't miss your spiritual awakening journey. You can't miss it. Because I was finding feathers, not even little feathers. I was finding large white feathers in the gas station parking lot. I was finding crystals and stones by my car on the ground. Walking in the park, this stone, this crystal or whatever would just stand out to me, and it didn't look like any other rocks. It was different. So I started picking them up, and I was like, okay, it's beautiful. And I've always been attracted to crystals from the time I was a kid, but I hadn't paid attention to a crystal in a long time. So I started picking them up, and then as I started researching, what are these crystals? What are they? That is when I started reading up on the spiritual properties of crystals. And then from there, it led to the feathers. So you start experiencing things that's out of the ordinary for you. When I started my spiritual awakening, y'all, I was depressed. I was depressed. And it wasn't the kind of depression where you don't want to live anymore. It wasn't that kind of depression. It was just, I felt down. I felt deep down inside, I felt a sorrow. And I couldn't really explain it, but I knew that there was something happening down on the inside of me. What was going on was I had to look at things that I hadn't looked at before about myself. And that's the hardest part about your spiritual awakening journey in the beginning, is you have to look at yourself. You have to examine yourself. And that's not easy, because most people spend most of their time looking at everybody else, paying attention to what everybody else got going on, paying attention to what everybody else is doing, so that they never actually go within. And when you start your spiritual awakening journey, you're going to have to. You're going to have to. Now, before you start your spiritual awakening journey, or what causes you to get on your spiritual awakening journey, is typically a traumatic event happening in your life. It took me a couple of years to heal from that experience. And for some people, they have an accident. For some people, they lose a loved one. There's so many things that people go through that starts off their spiritual awakening journey. And I want to ask y'all that to put in the comments what started your spiritual awakening journey, what kicked off your spiritual awakening journey. I'm very interested into knowing what y'all went through, what y'all experiences was that caused you to wake up. Okay, and if you like this video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, so that you can get more videos about being chosen and being on your spiritual awakening journey. Okay. Now, me going through this dark night of the soul, it lasted for me a few years. It lasted for me a few years. I went through the dark night of the soul for probably 3 years. And after that, it's like everything started clicking. That is when I started Guided Source Awakening. Guided Source Awakening was birthed out of my pain. It was birthed out of my pain. And for most of y'all life path purpose mission is going to be birthed out of y'all pain. That's why they call it growing pains. What I will tell y'all for now is if you are going through that dark night of the soul, it will not last. It will not last. You will definitely come out of it stronger. You will definitely come out of it stronger. Continue watching my videos that's coming up. I'm going to talk about your spirit guides and how they will help you through that period. I'll talk more about my personal spiritual awakening journey. And until next time.